Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, Michi Makes Up. Today's video is going to be all about the best of best makeup I've tried in 2022. Most of these are new releases from the past year. Some of them are not, but I kind of discovered them in 2022 and have just kept using them over and over again. A number of these items I think you've seen on my channel mentioned or used multiple times. So I really took the full year or as much of the year as possible to try these products. They would not be on this list if it's not something that I constantly go back to. So the criteria for this list is going to be that they are not old releases, so fairly new releases from the past year or maybe the past 14 months. And second, that they are products I've used more than just a handful of times. I find myself going back to them over and over again. And third, I do believe most of this, or I try to pick things that were also still available that you could go pick up if you were interested. I really kept limited edition products that are just no longer available or really difficult to find to a minimum. Well, let's first start with some blushes. I have here, this is not a new release from this year, but I believe it was end of last year. And I just find myself going back to this over and over again. So this is the Tom Ford Shade and Illuminate Blush Duo Explicit Flush. I really do intend to get back or get more of these blushes, perhaps in the new year. I don't know about having a whole collection full of them, but definitely a few more color stories. I just love both shades. Something a little bit cooler, more subdued for those days that I don't want too much blush. And then for more color, I pop this one on. And you can also layer these two or combine these two, mix them together or put this on in a larger area and then go back in to accentuate with this. So I love these. Great powders. The second blush product is going to be from SUQQU, their Melting Powder Blushes. These are excellent. If you have been following me on Instagram, you may have seen recently that I started to begin to downsize my makeup collection. But I gotta say, I don't know if I would ever downsize these blushes. They have just this soft powder finish to them. Some of them have this kind of sheen and glisten. Actually, it's more of a sheen, not a glisten. And some of them appear a bit more matte-like, but both of these shades I have, which are not limited edition. So this shade right here is number 3, Koi Meguri, and then this kind of beigey mauve shade is number 9, Karenzaki. So these two both have that sheen to them, but just the softness of the powder, how it goes with really any skin texture, I find them to be just so gorgeous. I think it's appropriately named Melting Powder Blush because it melts right into your skin. I would agree with that. They've, since the launch of these products, they've come out with more shade variations, but you get kind of subdued, nude type shades all the way to these bright, fun shades. And this one is number 6, Yubae. Also not limited edition, and there were a few fun ones as well. So I did notice actually all of them do have that soft sheen to them. I do think some of the limited edition products might be a little bit more sparkly, a little bit more oomph to them, but generally the formula itself is this soft silky sheen. I just love it. And then the last brush product I want to show you is from Chanel. It's the Le Beige Water Fresh Blush. I have 2 of these. They became available first internationally, or maybe just in Asia, like 2021, and then this year it finally became available in Europe and North America. I think there are some split opinions on these blushes. They are very light, and as the name implies, water fresh. They're quite watery, and depending on the shade and also depending on your skin tone, so there might be some limitations there, but it just gives you, it feels very cooling, and it gives you a nice glow on your skin. It's for that flush look. So I wouldn't say it's a blush that's going to give you like lots of accent and definition. It's really for kind of the bigger, like larger area of your face to give you a glow. I like it because it's different from your powder blushes. It's different from your stick blushes. It just adds something, another dimension to blush you can play with. And I just haven't seen anything like this from luxury brands over the past couple of years that I've gotten into doing this channel. So I think this is definitely worth mentioning. And I've really put these to some good uses over the last 18 months that I've had them, and it just depending on the shade too. Some of the deeper shades I'm able to use it as a blush, but the lighter shades definitely as like an all over glow, and then I'll even top it with a powder to give that extra pop and dimension to the cheeks. Moving on to blushes, we're going to get into eyeshadows, and in no particular order, let's start with what I have on today. I have on from Chanel's Tweed Quad Collection. This is SUQQU, and it's really beautiful. It has this like not quite red tone, it like kind of coppery bronzy depending on how you combine and play with these shades, but this really works for me, and I love that it goes with this top. Just really fall appropriate shades. I don't have anything in terms of this color tone, color story, and just with that kind of luxury beauty softness to it. I don't quite have anything in my collection like this, so I've really been enjoying this whenever I get a chance to put it on. And I did want to mention this in addition to just like beyond the color story, also that they come with a tweed pouch, and inside we have the Chanel logo all over the place. Because these are limited edition and it comes with this pouch, the prices are going to be more than their regular quads, so I think that's worth mentioning. But just really cute. The embossing of the eyeshadows too, as you saw earlier, also has that tweed pattern. So if you're into those kind of extra bits in packaging and whatnot, I think these are nice to look into just because they're limited edition and we don't expect them to come back after they're all sold out. The next Chanel quad I absolutely love. Unfortunately, I do not think this is available anymore. It's the Mediterranean quad, released early this year. You look at this and it looks super soft, and it looks like it doesn't have much color payoff either, but it has really elegant impact. I really enjoy, and you don't always get that with, you know, Chanel quads. Luxury beauty tend to be on the softer side with color payoff, especially Chanel quads, but I find this one to just really suit my skin tone. It's on the cooler side, but it suits my skin tone, gives me definition, and it is not boring by any means. So it's definitely made it onto the list for that reason, even though it's limited edition and not currently available. Moving on to what has more color payoff, still in the luxury brands, is going to be Dior's Riviera Quint. You guys heard me talk about this many times on the channel. I've also ranked this like mid-year as like my top 10 used palettes. It continues to be the case, and it's one of those palettes or makeup items I have to put away, take off of my vanity so I would stop going back to them. I just love it. And I've heard from you guys too. Kate, if you're watching, I know we talked about this several times, like you love this collection, Riviera, and the other Quint that's also available. It's just, I don't know, it just works. Really nice definition with these deeper shades here. But if you want a softer look with that kind of rosy color story, you can focus on these 3 shades for something that's a bit softer. And these are still available. I'm always amazed. They're still available. I'm sure there is some sale going on right now with these. So if you're interested, I highly recommend it. We're down to 2 eyeshadow quads here, and going back to downsizing my makeup collection, I've actually sold a lot of my Tom Ford quads, but this one I am keeping. This is the Rose Quartz Cream Quad, and it might look kind of similar actually to Dior's Riviera, but this one has even a bit more of that smoky emphasis to it, that kind of drama in an eye look. I also love that these are all matte shades. We don't see quads, quins, eyeshadow palettes without at least one, inner corner highlight or something with shimmer or something that's metallic. These are all mattes and they're amazing. The looks I get from them, I love. And so, I mean, these are kind of close to each other in that way, but I still get different looks. And this one's just really gorgeous. I hope to see more 100% matte color stories from Tom Ford this year. I would still try them out, even though I've downsized my collection. I would still try those quads out because this one has just really impressed me that much. And for the last quad, these are brand new releases, a brand new line from Guerlain this year. It is their Ombre G quads, specifically the Color Story 940 Royal Jungle is one of my favorites. The formulation of these, especially this deep dark matte, and I'm not getting much color payoff off my finger, and it might seem like it's not quality, it's not good. It's buildable. It does take a little bit more time to build it up, but it is worth it. There is no fallout for that reason. And when I use this for kind of my holiday makeup look, I get the most smoky, blended in eye look that has, exactly that deep smokiness that you would want occasionally from an eye look, especially for an evening. And I'm just so impressed every time. The first time I went into this just to swatch, when I got it, I was a little bit concerned. After creating my first look and then using it like 10 more times after that, I'm like, no, this is great. My recommendation though is probably having a trusted dense brush, especially if you want to use it as like an eyeliner or tight lining, anything like that. Using a denser brush is going to be important because you do need that to get the pigment off, and just a bit of patience too to build the color up. So for the brushes I do like to use for this quad are going to be namely these four here. So I have from Rephr brush number 34. It's a new release from this year. You get the thinnest, most defined line, and it would be good to pick up a product like that. And also notice how it's with undyed hairs. You can definitely use it on kind of like a liquid or something that you've turned into more liquid consistency, and then create a liner from that. Also from Rephr is their brush 20 that has like a flat point here, but generally it's just really dense, really good at picking this up, picking this type of product up. It's actually what I used. This is the brush I used to create my look the other day. And then a similar, not exactly the same, but similar brush from Sonia G is going to be the Builder brush from her Lotus Collection, which I think this is still available to purchase by itself. Links below, whatever I can find available. And then Sonia G's Pencil Pro is another good one. Smaller area coverage, more defined. Typically with these two, I can just get through creating the look a little faster. This one here, I can also smudge upwards or outwards. So that's what I use to tackle this formula, this type of formula, but love it, Guerlain. Looking forward to more good stuff from them this year in terms of their eyeshadows. Moving on to complexion products, let's first talk about the Minimalist. This is what I use regularly, and I did not discover it this year. However, I did begin using this particular shade, Bone. It's very light, several shades lighter than my actual skin tone, and it has a cool undertone. I'm neutral undertone, so typically, cool undertones like this is not going to work for me. However, it works great for concealer, especially under eye, because it brightens everything up. And the Minimalist can be used as a concealer, spot corrector, and all over face foundation. So what I really discover with the minimalist this year, not only is the shade, but the fact that you can use a lighter shade as concealer very effectively. What I haven't tried is using their deeper shades on my skin tone as bronzer. So that would be something I would consider in the future. But speaking of bronzer, I was introduced to their bronze bombs this year. And it's what I have on today. So I have Quince and Clay here. And Quince is the, or excuse me, hold on, let's look at both together. So Quince is the lighter of the two, and this is what I use to warm up the complexion. What's beautiful about these products is the natural glow you get from them because they're balms. And you can apply them with your finger. They diffuse beautifully. I like using brushes, but sometimes in a pinch I'll use my finger too. But with the warmth of your fingertip, it spreads just really beautifully. And you can, I didn't really put it on with any kind of precision just now. I just like did this, and it blends right in. Because it's so easy to use and it gives that natural glow without making you feel oily and look oily, I find myself going back to these balms as well. With Clay, I do use this for contouring. These aren't really meant to be that like contour sculpting, like, you know, just contours that just cut. And it does a little bit of that, but I would say these are more warming the complexion and to give you something a bit more subtle. I have used this deeper shade on the sides of my nose as well, and just gives me a little bit more definition. It works too, but it's just not that like cutting contour you might get from you know, a creamier product and one that is powder, for example. Moving on to my favorite foundation that I discovered this year, actually was released this year. It's the Chanel Le Beige Water Touch Foundation, and I use the shade B30. I'm still using the shade B30. We're like winter time, and this still works. It's a very versatile, I find, because it's light to medium, buildable coverage. And because of that, the shade range is kind of forgiving. That's why at the height of summer, when I was probably a shade and a half deeper than this B30, I was still able to use B30 and not look awkward. Now that we're, you know, really full on into wintertime, I'm still able to use this and not feel like it's totally two different colors from my neck. I love the versatility of this. Like, this is hands down probably going to be one of my favorite foundations of all time at this rate. So I love this. Light to medium coverage, buildable, and it does pair nicely actually with the water blush, just because they're both, you know, very lightweight, very hydrating on the skin. They just pair nicely. I didn't think I'd ever be a pressed powder user. But Westman Attelier's Vital Skin Pressed Skincare Powder really changed that for me. So I actually started with the translucent shade when it first launched, and I've hit pan. I'm still going through it. I'm going to use every last bit of this. Specifically, the shade I now put under my eyes just for a brightening effect. And it does pretty good in setting under eye concealer. Also helps with putting off any product setting into lines. At the end of the day, it still sets. Like, I'm talking about 8+ hours in, it still kind of sets. But for now and the next several hours, it's gonna look fairly blended in and beautiful, and this powder is my go-to. I did pick up another shade here for all over the face, and this is Creme or Cream. You guys have pointed out to me that there is some hard pan, and this is true. This is from me going in with my powder, you know, kind of all over face brushes. I'll use either this flat top Koyudo brush, I think this is number 12, or the Sonia G Face One, and I think it's called the Blender Pro now. Yeah, this is called the Blender Pro now. Same specs. It's just that we have a tapered handle rather than this. So this is the Face One with the kind of traditional original handles, but her Blender Pro has the tapered handle. So I just get the product that way and then buff it onto the face. And as I'm going back in, I am getting some concealer, or actually mostly foundation, onto the brush, and it then touches this. It's not an issue. I think the powder is worth it. So what I do is maybe once a week, depending on how often I was putting makeup on that week, I'll just go in with a Q-tip and just wipe it. It doesn't bother me that much because I just want to show you. It isn't great having to go through this cleanup step. However, I had nearly gone through this whole thing before I started kind of going in to clean it up. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, yes, that does happen, but it didn't stop me from continuing to use the product because it's good. And I actually went back for another shade just to try it out. Let me swatch real quick the shade difference. So this is cream. It's still pretty light. I'm not going to see it on my hand. So yeah, cream and translucent. They both work well. I would say translucent is a bit too light for me, especially as my complexion warms up as we head towards summer, and I think cream is going to be the one I'm going to stick with. Before I totally move away or move on from the powders, I do want to talk a bit more about the performance of it. So it sets the makeup beautifully, but it doesn't have that heavy effect. Some people are not going to like that, just so you know. But if you're someone who you're looking to set your makeup, but you don't want anything heavy and you don't mind that there's a little bit of tackiness, this is the powder. There's a lot of great skincare benefits to it that I really feel it. And I think it helps helps extend your makeup longevity because of those qualities. And that's why I've stuck with it. And the last skincare product I have is going to be from Merit Beauty. It's their Great Skin Instant Glow Serum. This gives me just the most even glow. It is suitable for all kinds of skin type. I have combo skin, more on the oily side after my pregnancy, and I've been able to use this. You can go just half a pump even, but that even glow is, there's just not anything like it. I don't have anything like it. I'm not a huge serum person, but this kind of sold me on just being really great. And I think coffee is one of the ingredients. So there's like a rejuvenating or a revitalizing quality to the serum as well, and hyaluronic acid, which is great for hydration. We are almost at the end. We're gonna move towards the next category, which is lip products, and then we have brushes that I've really enjoyed over this past year. So with lip products, I'm gonna first start with the Chantecaille Lip Chic in Jasmine. It is what I have on today. It's the perfect shade, just a bit pink with the touch of like nude beige, or I think maybe even peachiness to it, and it's perfect. It's one of those lip products that I'm going to probably get a backup of as I, hopefully they don't completely run out. I still have quite a bit left. But it's definitely one of those products I want to get a backup of. So this is the Lip Chic from Chantecaille. And then we got new or more shades from Eldridge this year, both for her Velvet line, her True Velvet lipsticks, and her Luxuriously Lucent lipsticks. Le Mépris. And I know it's not something that just really pops on my lips, but this is one of those, it's one of those shades that goes with any makeup look. If I can't think of a shade that I'm really feeling or passionate about with a certain makeup look, I just default to Le Mépris. Or if I want a glossy finish, I'll go to Jasmine. Then from her Velvet line, New Wave. Wow. Yeah. She always just finds some shades that are really enticing, hard to completely avoid. I know we get so excited whenever she has new shade releases, but those are the two that I've really, after picking up, really gravitated towards too, time and again. And then we have the Victoria Beckham Posh Glosses. She launched 2, or was it 3 nude shades? Small handful of nude shades in the beginning of the year. This is one of them. I think this is Poolside, or no, this is Tan Line. And I love layering these on top of her Posh lipsticks to turn it into a gloss. And these do have a good amount of pigment to them, actually. You can wear them, definitely you can wear them alone. Yeah, so depending on the shade, there's good pigment to them. This is Fizz, by the way. And so she then came back, I think, summer or perhaps spring, and released a set of pink berry shades, and these are the 2. I think there were 4 total maybe from that. But this is Bungalow and this is Fizz. I love them all the same. They are great, very, very comfortable, but high gloss. If you're looking for a comfortable, from a clean makeup brand, high gloss, the Posh Glosses, that's it, they're the ones. And for the last set of lipsticks, they're going to be from Merit Beauty, and these are their signature lipsticks. I did purchase some of these shades myself last year when they launched, so they weren't from this year, but I discovered them, more of the shades this year. Merit Beauty did send a couple more to me, and they're just great. There's something for everybody. For, again, a clean beauty brand and a satin lipstick, I find them to be just very pigmented, and the shade range is excellent. So let me show you some of my favorites. We have Slip. It looks like a deep shade, but it actually is more of a nude. Right up here. And then going to something a bit more, actually just a nice pink. A soft pink. I love this. It's kind of a day-to-day color for me. And then something with more standout. This berry shade Fashion. And while we're at it, let's take another fun shade. And then this is Tiger. Compared to New Wave from Lisa Eldridge, everything looks really subdued, but they have their emphasis. In fact, I think Tiger would be a good match with this top right here. They last just about as you would expect from a kind of softer, clean beauty type lipstick. So you do need to reapply them throughout the day, like after going through some drinks, after a meal and all of that. But they're just so comfortable. I have no issues layering on without having to like wipe it all off, hydrate my lips, and then putting it back on. You can easily just reapply like you would a lip balm. For my last set of best of best this year, they're going to be makeup brushes. The first 2 I actually already mentioned in the middle of this video. It's actually from Koito's BP line. This line is discontinued, but you can still get some of the brushes from CD Japan. I'll have links below. But these 2 brushes, we have, I think, brush 11, this Angle 3D blush. Excellent for pigmented blushes, or any blush that you want to have a very stress-free, if you will, application. Because I just do this, and then there you go, it's covered. It picks up just enough product to not be too much. But if you feel like maybe for a very bright blush, it still might be too much, just tap off the excess. It's kind of airy, not very dense, and because of the angle, I think that helps. The density itself helps with not applying too much product, and then the angle gives you that nice coverage right here that almost looks like it's a perfect blush application on the apples of the cheeks. And then this is brush number 12, like a kabuki brush. It is great for buffing on face powders. I would not recommend it for blush, but for all over face powders, especially of pressed powders like the Westman Atelier one. Bake gelée powders, so anything that could or requires more density to get into more strength. It works very similarly to Sonia G's Buffer Pro brush, which I showed you guys earlier too. And I also have really been enjoying Sonia G's Hinoki set brush, especially the bigger brush here. I've talked about this numerous times, but you can just kind of go through the motions without it ever leaving your face, and it is so soft as well. I actually am not sure if this brush is still available. This is a limited edition release, and the handles, unlike her regular line, if you will, is actually made of Hinoki wood. So I just love that. It has some of the crane, crane is her favorite animal, I believe. Some crane design to it. So love this. And then also you saw this brush from earlier, Rephr number 34. And I use this too today for that kind of refined, very defined, thin line on both sides. And I just tapped it into the Chanel quad, kind of got the excess off and just went at it. Really great little brush. It is the thinnest, tiniest brush I have in my collection, so thank you, Rephr, for sending this to me. Well, that is my best of best makeup of 2022. Thank you so much for watching. I hope to talk to you guys very soon again. Bye.